I knew that I wanted to be on stage to speak to people and give them that same empowering feeling. I just didn't know how. And then, we were talking one day. You actually asked me like, hey man, how are you? Like, are you really good with, analysis, running numbers? We were talking. I said, yeah, I help folks in the community. Fast forward, the opportunity came in. Jesse asked if I wanted to be a coach.
Most people underestimate what they could do in a day. Most people underestimate what they could do in a year. And most people underestimate what they could do in a month. Now you stack that up consistently over 1 year. Dude, you can do a whole lot of fucking shit if you put your mind to it and you start to actually do things.
I told myself I'm shutting off social media for 1 year. And I did. So I could just focus on these books, focus on action taking. But like going pure Goggins mode, that's not for everyone. We all help each other out. I did that a lot with a lot of the newbies who felt stuck. So I'd spend time with them. And the beauty in all of that was I was gearing up to become a coach.
You knew who did know that?
You did.
Yes. I knew that from the very get-go, bro.
Goosebumps, Matthew McConaughey.
Welcome to the JV Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Vasquez. What is up, my friends? Welcome back to, I don't know, what is this, like a podcast or something? I think it is actually called the JV Pod. And for those of you that are listening today for the first time, welcome. Glad you're here. Super excited you're here. And I'm super excited because we have my good friend, Dunn de la Cruz, who is in my actual mentorship and academy. One of the coolest things about him is that he's been able to grow not only mentally and emotionally, but also in a bunch of different ways to build a business. And in today, this call, you guys are going to absolutely love this call, especially if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to get to the gym, if you're trying to build something for yourself, if you're trying to do things for your family, if you're trying to do things for yourself, ultimately, this call is going to be for you. And I'm telling you this because we go deep into mindset of understanding yourself, understanding when to make decisions, understanding that hardships can be very difficult, but a lot of positives actually come from those. And one of the best things about this entire call is that you get to hear a super humbled person talk about being able to grow and visualizing what growth actually looks like. And I know what you're thinking. A lot of you right now listening to this or watching this are probably thinking, dude, what is this? Some like woo-woo stuff? Kind of, yeah, it is a little bit, but it's also really things that you need to do to encourage yourself, especially by being around the right people to grow. And we talk about all those things in so much detail. I'm telling you guys, there is so much power about being in a room. And Dunn breaks this down today about how important it is to be in the right rooms with the right people that are a step ahead of you or below you by a couple steps, and being able to encourage yourself by getting encouragement from other people that are doing the things that you want to do. And myself, I have been in a position where I didn't really think that I could do a lot of things. I didn't think I came from enough money. I don't think I came from a family that had a bunch of money. I definitely didn't graduate high school, and I didn't have the college background that a lot of people have. And what's cool about Dunn is that he has a lot of the same kind of skill set that I do in a lot of ways, but he has that drive and that ambition that I think that everybody can reach deep down and actually find. And you don't have to have the conventional ways of doing things. I think this is what's so cool about being able to create your own business and do something that you believe is extraordinary. You actually have to believe it first. And today you guys are going to hear from my good friend Dunn, where he talks about his experiences in great detail. And I do believe you guys are going to love this episode. In fact, I'm going to encourage you, as you're listening to this episode, to share it with somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, somebody that needs to get out of their own mind, somebody that's trying to build something. This is going to be the episode that you will absolutely love. And again, I'm encouraging you to share it with other people, because that not only helps me, but it helps me get other people onto this platform and onto this channel that can talk about these really cool things that can not only help me, but can also help many of you out there, because that's exactly why I do this. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to stop talking. And again, this actually came from MIDTERM Monday, which I do every single Monday on my Facebook channel and also on my YouTube channel. It's a live, but for some reason today it didn't actually go live. And I'm glad it didn't, because this is such a great call that you guys are going to take an immense amount of stuff from. I already know it. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to jump into this. I'm actually going to be talking, but just like in the past. So yeah, here you go. You guys are going to love this one. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another
MIDTERM Monday.
There it is. Look at Dunn coming through with the midterm Monday speed. We're gonna have to record that, turn that into a freaking bit, and then drop it in every time we do a midterm Monday. And maybe I'll go and play the drums and we'll get some guitar going to it, but it'll be your voice, bro. Coming through with those stuff. What's going on, man? How's your day so far?
It's good, man. Still working out the keynote, my topic, trying to get the flow, the rhythm in, but I think I got a pretty good hold on it. How about you?
Yeah, I today's been a very busy day for me. Dunn is one of my homie OGs from the program from back in the day. Who's when I say program, I mean community. That's the word I should be saying regularly. And Dunn has been one of these people that I've been able to watch over the last several years become and shed the person that he was to the person that he is now, and how he's continuing to educate. He's in our community on a regular basis, a pillar of our community, actually helping not only myself learn things, but other people in the space learn a lot of things. And for those of you that don't know him, he hosts this all the time. And today we're going to be talking a little bit deeper about his actual midterm rental journey. And one of the things that I really, really love about Dunn, what you've been able to build, first off, my mom loves you. My mom was like so humbled by Dunn. She's always talking about it all the time. And it kind of annoys me that she's always like, Mijo, what about Dunn? What's he doing? And I'm just like, don't Mijo me and talk about Dunn. It's supposed to be about me, Mom. But the thing
I
about
love you,
that
Mama
is,
Vasquez.
I love you, Mama Vasquez. You and I both, bro. And the reason why she holds so much value in Dunn is because Dunn was able to turn his life around. And what I mean by that is, like, we've all had our, I'm going to take you guys back to my childhood. And Dunn, we don't need to go into detail on this, but we'll talk about this just gracefully. Didn't graduate high school. I'm talking about myself. Ashamed of that, like hardcore. Like, in fact, I never told anybody. I always lied to people about like me graduating high school. I didn't feel comfortable enough. I felt like I was shameful about it. And even to this day, I still feel disgusted that I don't have a high school diploma. Granted, I have been able to build multi-million-dollar businesses, and this is me being like trying to be nice to myself, which I need to do way more often. In fact, a lot of you that are listening to this need to be way more fucking nicer to yourselves than you probably are. Excuse my language. I had to bring that out. It was like a key moment there, because we're really down on ourselves a lot. I have been that person on myself for years and years and years. And so it's done. But what I'm trying to say is, we did a lot of dumb things when we were younger. I skateboarded all the time. That was actually the good thing. But I was around a bunch of maniacs doing dumb stuff, which we always talk about this all the time. And my mom used to say this. This is a Spanish word. It says, dime con quien andas y te diré quién eres. In English, that translates to, tell me who you're around and I'll tell you who you are. And at that time in my life, I was around people that were doing things that were not, they weren't good. They were smoking weed all the time and living with their 20 people in one house, and everybody was just drinking all the time. We'd get up in the morning and everybody would drink, wake and bake, doing all that stuff. And there comes a point when you start to have kids and you're like, I can't live this life anymore. This isn't the best thing for me. And what my mom was saying is that sometimes when people get, and she used to say this to me all the time too, if you're around these types of people, you're going to burn yourself. Like, you're going to get burned. It's just by being around these certain types of people, like that is going to come out. And my mom always looked at me and was like, I know that you could be around these people and not get burned. And what she meant by that is, like, I could be around people that were doing, literally I was around people that were like smoking heroin. I'm not even kidding you. I never touched this stuff. I was around it, which is scary as hell. And I didn't think about it then. But I learned very early on that I didn't want to be a person like that. I could be around, what is that saying, Dunn? You could be around the kitchen and not get burned, or you could touch the pan. There's a saying that's something like that. And what she was trying to tell me when I was younger, and I this came to me full circle not that long ago, that she trusted me in a way that I could be around people doing dumb stuff and not ultimately do the things that they were doing. Granted, I was doing dumb stuff like drinking and smoking weed all the time and, hanging out with my friends. Like, didn't care about anything. Wasn't thinking about success. I wasn't thinking about work. Like, I was just trying to have fun. And at that point in my life, that's what I thought fun was. And I have friends to this day, you guys, I'm sure Dunn does as well, that literally do that exact same thing. In fact, if I go hang out with them right now, it'll be, dude, you remember what we used to do when we were 21? Yeah. Dude, you remember what that was like? Do you remember going and sitting in the orchard, drinking beer? Do you remember sitting on the canal bank, watching the sunset at 7:45 at night, drinking beer and smoking weed? Dude, that's not my life anymore. Like, I don't want that. I want nothing to do with it. Although it does sound kind of fun and maybe sparingly. But that's not the life that I live anymore. I have kids. I have people that I have to be around. I have community members that I have to support. Like, my life has turned 180 degrees in every aspect of every single piece of everything. What I'm trying to say right now is, like, my mom has an affinity for people that have been able to turn their lives around. I personally have a brother that is on drugs. He's been on drugs for a long time. He's homeless. hurts my soul, hurts my mom's soul tremendously. So I think my mom has this, and I don't talk about that very often because I don't feel like it's really my place, but I know it's very difficult for our family. So my mom sees somebody that has been through similar things, and she just acknowledges them at 110%. For anybody that's ever been addicted to anything, getting away from something like that is so hard. And again, being around people that are not for you and not the right people for you. I talk about this so often about getting around the right people, doing the right things. And this is where I've seen Dunn excel the most, where he's been able to be in those spaces that we talked about in the past, get past those things, and he's new and in a new position with himself and in his life. But back in 2021, he busted his knee, like had to have knee surgery, worked, and I'm telling your story for you now, Dunn, but I'm going to tell it as best as I can, and then you can jump in and kind of talk about this. For anybody that's ever had, if you're like super into working out and you hurt your back or something and you can't do that anymore, like your life is completely upside down. I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you guys out there. If you're working and you're supplying for your family and all of a sudden you're hurt and you can't do that same thing anymore, that's a toll that comes out of your brain. It comes out of your body because you're not able to do those things that were ultimately helping your family in the long run. And Dunn did this other approach where he got hurt. And Dunn, I'm going to let you tell your story. I'm continuing to talk about this because I find this to be powerful. And I know the audience is going to feel this as well. Dunn got hurt. And instead of sitting around watching Netflix, which I love Netflix, by the way, you guys, I love watching TV and stuff at nighttime. That's my freaking addiction. All right. Take it easy, guys. I'm an entrepreneur that likes to watch TV and loves movies, but he shifted his life. He like actually started to go from like, dude, I can't do anything with my knee. I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. I got my kids here. I'm going to like focus on actually trying to better myself so that when this knee freaking heals, I can go do something positive with myself. So he didn't sit there sulking about his knees being busted. He wasn't in the victim mentality. He like started to like actually put a plan together. And Dunn, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you did. And then here you are. We'll talk about that entire little journey here, but walk us through, man, what that was like, getting hurt, being around the wrong people and kind of getting around the right people. Like, let us know what that's like, bro. And I'll ask you questions as we're moving along. Am I trying to fluff you up too much right now, dude? Is that what's going on?
No, the story was on point for sure. A couple of things you mentioned is, the reason why I feel like, I'm in the position where I'm at today and I do what I do, guiding people, coaching folks, trying to wake them up, right, to take action, is because, I still feel that pain, that pain when I felt when I got injured, when I felt lost, when I felt like I had no other option. And then so when I'm talking to, a new community member or even, a stranger outside, in a regular meetup, and I'm hearing their tone, their pain of like just feeling lost and not knowing what to do, it takes me back. And if anything, that's kind of like, that's like honey to a bee. I don't know if that's a saying, but like I'm attracted to it. Like I'm going to try to help you because you don't have to be stuck in that pain. And then, going back to my story on how I started in real estate, it was by accident. It wasn't, it wasn't a goal of mine. It wasn't something I've always thought about. I remember as a kid just talking, campfire stories like, oh, it'd be cool if we had an apartment. It'd be cool if not knowing what that entails.
Like unobtainable, right? Just like a dream.
Yes. Just like, just throw something wild out there, but I had no reason
to have that. Yes.
Yeah. But like, no, that was it. That's where it stops. Just campfire stories. Anyways, I was in construction and for electrical line work. And in order for me to get the golden ticket, to get the apprenticeship, I've never been to Yale. I've never been to these prestigious colleges, but I would think the how hard it is to get accepted in a nice prestigious college. Same thing for electrical line work. Long story short, I did the work, went to school for it and put all my eggs in one basket. When I got the golden ticket for the apprenticeship, like this is everything that I've been working for. I found out that our due date, my wife's due date for the twin boys was on the same date of the start of the school, of the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to make a choice. And then and there, I made a choice. I'm like, well, if I could get this golden ticket, I could do it again.
Hang on a second. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop you right there. I want you guys to hear what he just said right now. His wife was due with twins on the same day. And on the same day he had to take, was it like, that's your first day of your job after doing the schooling?
Yeah.
So you basically, and just so you guys know, like to become an electrician, is that what it was? You were an electrician, or you were like a journeyman, or you were a
yeah, working on the power lines. So the poles, the electrical poles,
Yeah.
the towers,
Yeah.
those.
So that is like a gold mine job. So like, it's a lineman. You were going to be a lineman.
Going
Am
to
I
be
right on that?
Yep.
Going to be. So that was an entry level for you to get that job to go in and do that. So you basically had a choice. Like, you could you have went to your boss and just been like, dude, my wife's going to have a kid right now. Like, I can't come in right now. What would that have looked like? I want people to really understand what that actually, these two decisions that you were faced with in your life. Can you explain that a little bit deeper?
There's absolutely no. I tried, just to let everyone know. I did try asking he wasn't a boss. I forgot what it's called, but the main apprentice coach, right? And he says you can't. Like, this is a one-time shot. There's over 500 people that applied, and I was in the top 10. Only 10 people they accepted out of 500 people nationwide. And they said, you can't.
Nikes.
Yeah, dude. So I made a choice, and that's how much I really believed in myself, because prior to that, I did all the work, the staying up late, studying, practicing. I remember in school, we had a competition at the end of the year. We call it the rodeo. And it's where each crew will perform like the task, and whoever could finish first, you get the trophy and all the prizes and all that. When I found out there was going to be a competition, that's just like my mind. I'm a very competitive person. I said, okay, we're going to win this. We're going to be number one. I did everything I had to do within the time frame of the school to be number one. One of those things was during lunchtime, while everyone was eating, I would just scarf up my food and I'll go out to the field by myself. And I would encourage my crew too, because there's a crew of 4 of us. But, they thought I was crazy. Everyone was too busy just hanging out. But I went out there and worked on the areas, the task that I wasn't too good at, right? So, and I would do that every day, lunchtime, scarf up my food 5 minutes and go out and start training. So I started to build that habit, right? And I didn't even realize that. My focus was just to win number one, not realizing later into my real estate journey, I'd be applying the same structure of training, of mindset. Long story short, I said no to the apprentice coach. I said, this is more important to me, my kids, and I know I could do this again. And he thought it was pretty cool. Like, he was shocked that I said no, right? So
Yeah,
what I had to do,
what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, dude. So what I had to do in the meantime, I still had to continue to boost up my resume to show that I was still in the construction field, so that there's no gaps. So when I reapply, it shows that, I'm building my skill set. So I went traveling for a while, all over California, a lot of my jobs are in Northern California. I was contracted with PG&E, did some jobs out of state as well. Had to learn how to drive a semi truck, a 16-wheeler. So I had my CDL license, and which was like another thing. I never know how to drive stick shift. And there's more than 6 gears in a truck. Right. But that was something I had to do in order to boost up the resume. So I did that for another 2 years. My wife, she essentially went through the pregnancy by herself, newborn babies, and I had enough. So I was like, all right, I can't do this. I need to be home with my family. So I took another step back and I took a minimum wage job. I was getting paid $18 an hour climbing towers for telecom. And, just telling myself like, hey, like, this is more important for you. You're making the sacrifices. And if you have the skills, if you have everything, it's going to happen. Like, I truly trusted myself, and I didn't feel the FOMO of, that scarcity opportunity. I did not feel that at all. It wasn't until one day I was working on a project on top of a roof, pulling up equipment, and just a regular normal task, setting up the job. Except this day was different. The way my teammate or my coworker rigged up the equipment, it was really heavy. It wasn't the best way. So as I was pulling it, it shifted. And when it shifted, my body tensed up. I was in the edge of the building, right? That's just normal reaction. And my knee popped. And then, so I fell down to the ground, not off the building, but down on the floor. And that was it. Long story short, that was the end of my construction career. I had to get my third ACL surgery. And then from there, it was all downhill. So like, you could see, like, in the beginning, I still had high hopes, confidence in myself. But after that, it was all gone. I was in a dark hole, making myself feel bad. I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting a little talking about it, but I'm making myself, feel bad, right? Heavy drinking, thinking that I failed everyone, failed my family. I sacrificed 3 years of my life, going through school and boosting up the resume, and it was all gone just like in a snap. And then it wasn't until I was working on my workers' comp paperwork, haven't had surgery yet. One of my coworkers was like, "Hey man, won't you?" Because he knew what I was going through, like my mindset. I was lost, no more career, construction's over. He said, "Hey man, won't you have a couple apartments and be in real estate? Like, look at these guys." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like I don't know anything about real estate, and I always thought real estate was for, it wasn't for folks like me.
Like
I grew up
people.
in LA, exactly, rich people, like the old, like in the Hamptons, yachts, like I'm like, that's not me. I'm from LA, and I grew up in all over LA, and I didn't even travel outside of LA until I was probably 28 years old. Like that's how much I didn't think traveling was for me. So I had a very limited mindset up until I was 28. I checked it out, watched a couple of YouTube videos, right? And then that's where I got bit by the bug, from Bigger Pockets to you to, all the big dogs, just watching them. And if I'm being honest, I saw these guys and I said, if these guys could do it, why not me?
You're like,
right?
If this freaking mongoloid Jesse didn't graduate high school,
if this gray-haired man could do it, that's really what I said. And I found recently, like that's kind of like in me to like fire me up. I had to find I have like a mantra, like if these guys could do it, why not me?
This is the powerful part right here, because I think many of us have this exact, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this. Many of us have this super intimidating mindset when it comes to things that we don't know. People are always afraid of what they don't know. That's where I think of racism. A lot of that is people are like, oh, they're not like me. They don't have the same color as me. I don't like them because I don't know them. I don't know that. And a lot of people are so opposite of what they don't know. And I'm not saying that people are racist by saying, I'm just using it as an analogy. Like most people they'll see something or a person or real estate. I had the same thing too, where it's like, you have to only be this type of person. You got to have a job. You make $100,000 to buy real estate. Naive as hell, because there's a billion ways to freaking buy real estate without having a lot of money, and especially when you start to know people. So I think you being able to like see somebody, being able to identify with that person and being like, this mongoloid Jesse Vasquez can do this, or this guy on Bigger Pockets can do this. Like, and the crazy thing about this, Dunn, you see behind the curtain over here, right? And you get to see, I am not that smart. I'm not that smart. Like, I'm not that smart, you guys. I didn't graduate high school. I mean, come on. But like, there's certain things that people have, and what I do have is the ability to take action. And the universe rewards, God, whatever it is that you guys believe about, the rewards action. And that's exactly where Dunn started to like see the parallel between mongoloid Jesse can do it. Other people are doing it. I can friggin' do this. And that right there is when you took that first immediate action of like, this dude's doing it, that dude's doing it, mongoloid frickin' this guy's doing it, like I can do this. And that's a powerful position to be in, man, because you start to look at those people that are on these Bigger Pockets channels and doing all these things, and you're like, what do they have that I don't? And in reality, every single last one of you, for this from a movie, what movie is that? Pulp Fiction, where she's like, every single last one of you, in the diner scene. Do you remember that?
Yep.
I love that movie, by the way. I just watched it with my daughter. That's why I brought it up. Every single last one of you. Yes. So basically, every single person has that ability to be able to do whatever they decide to do if they have the conviction and or knowledge and or see somebody that they know, that they like, that they trust doing what they're doing. And the reality of it is we're all very much similar. Our IQs are not that far apart. In fact, I think mine's a lot lower than probably yours, Dunn. But again, I don't even think that matters. I think it's more about the ability to take action. And you did that.
Yeah.
So
that's
walk
what
up
it
to
is.
this. You got that. You got the bug. You got bit. You started to see what was going on. Your knee was already jacked up. You're already at home anyway. Your kids were at home. What's that look like now?
Yeah. So twin boys, they're maybe a year and a half. I forgot, something like that. I had to get surgery. Right. I'm like, all right, this is perfect timing. It ties in with a lot with what you said. Once you take action, the universe, you just said it earlier, the universe sets you up to win. Right. You take action, and then things just starts to fall into place. And sometimes it's right in front of you and you don't see it because you don't have the right lenses to see the opportunity or the road to take. And that's why and I have to bring this up, that's why it's so important to not do this alone. Because if you do this alone in the beginning, you will go back to your old ways of thinking, because you need someone who's 2, 3, 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of you who can say, hey, no, that's the right road. I walked down that path. Wait, were you feeling this? Yeah, I felt, did you see that sign? Okay, keep going. And that's what I did. So when I had surgery, studied, got all the books, watched all the YouTube, and against doctor's orders, yeah, like always, a hard-headed dude. 3 months after surgery, I started to move our entire condo out. Right. So I told my wife, like, hey, we're going to be real estate investors. She thought I was crazy. And I had to tell her like an overarching goal of like promises, like, hey, I promise us in 2 years, if I don't get us a house, backyard, rooms for the kids, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to give up on life. I'll be at home. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll be, 100% stay-at-home dad. Nothing wrong with that, guys, if you're 100% stay-at-home dad. That's not what I really wanted to do. I wanted to achieve things, right? But it was also important for me to be with my kids. And we'll get into that later about the balance and harmony in the house. But anyways, jumped and started moving the house by myself 3 months in, launched the unit quickly, probably 2 months, I would say, launched the unit. And then everything was going well. Short-term rentals, everything was going well. I was a one-man show, bookkeeping, guest communication, till 3 months in, and money's coming in. I'm getting bookings. I started to feel stuck. I started to feel like, what the heck is going on? Like there's something that I'm missing. This is not passive income, financial, all the words that was used a lot during that time.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm
working. Yeah, I'm working harder than ever. What the heck is this? Yeah. And then that's, when travel nurse boom was around the same time, right?
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about it and you said, dude, all you need is six tenants, 6 travel nurses in a month and you're good. I'm like, 6? I've had
6
30.
in a month, you mean
I mean, in a year. Yeah. 6 in a year and you're good. And I'm like, 6? Yeah. I've already had 30 guests and it's only been 3 months. Sign me up. No questions, no hesitation. Signed up. They didn't know what I was going to get into. I thought I was just going to learn how to call hospitals, travel nurses, because I did. I tried calling before joining the community. And yeah, just like everyone else, I failed. I got hung up on. I was stuttering, jumbling my words. And long story short, I didn't know that I was going to come into the program learning about business as well, right? To think to run your rental like a business, not just like a set and forget, work with corporate contracts. And I think that was the biggest turn in my entrepreneurship journey, was joining the community, because now I got to see other people with the way they, solve problems, the way they process things. Right. And all I had to do is really ask questions and say, like, why do you look at it this way? Why did you choose this versus that? Right. So essentially stealing other people's skill sets, stealing. Right. And then a year from, joining the program, had my first rental and then got my second rental, arbitrage unit. And then it was a midterm rental summit. The midterm rental summit, that was probably the biggest event I've ever been to.
Oh, you were a year in already when you went to the summit? I didn't realize that.
No, I was about 8 months in, probably, into the summit. Yeah.
You had your property. I remember talking to you being like, you got this going, you got that property going. You just, Dunn had one of these dope ass properties in Santa Clarita. They had this like really cool, like kind of my kind of vibe. It looks like, it's got color that pops. Like it just looked like, in fact, when you start looking through the properties in that market, it was one of the, like, I don't know, 50 or 60 that were there at that time that stood out. And it was
people would bring him up to you like, hey, is this a good comp? You're like, yeah, it's a good comp. And you didn't even know it was mine yet. Yeah.
But yeah, so you were in the program. Okay. So you started to like actually think like a business. You started to, and I think that's a big wake up call to people. And you talked about this a second ago, and I just want to make sure that I highlight this again. If you get into midterm rentals, one of the first things that you think about is like, this is going to be easy. I just watched Jesse's YouTube video or Dr. Rachel's or Ruben Kanya or whoever else is in midterm rentals right now. Aaron Spalding. Like I went and watched these videos and they're saying just go list these things. And yeah, that's a way to do it. But there's also like an advanced way to do stuff. And I think once you come in done, you start to like actually start to think like a business owner. Hey everyone, if you are feeling stuck or not like you're making the progress you want in your midterm rental journey, I've got something that can change everything for you. Imagine being part of a community that's not only supportive, but filled with like-minded individuals who are driven to succeed just like you. Whether you are just starting out, looking to take care of your business to another level, my community is designed to help you break through those barriers. We're currently opening up registration for new enrollees, so if you're serious about building a thriving midterm rental business, and you want to leverage my 10,000 hours of experience, this is your chance. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn, grow, and connect with others in the same path. I hope to see you guys. The link is in the show notes, and let's build something incredible together. Let's get back to this episode. And the cool thing about short-term rentals is like, and you got this bug when this happened to you. You're like, midterm rentals came to you later, but you had 30 turnovers. We live in such a cool age where we can buy or arbitrage something, put furniture in it, take pictures with our iPhone and put it up, and somebody's gonna, like, you can make money from that, which is freaking wild to think about. But then you want to go a step further than that. You start to like actually build something that you own, where you're starting to be thoughtful. I'm like, who am I going after? And that's where we started to pick up. You started to make these calls. You started to think about things different. I remember when we were on a class, dude, and you were like, I was like, Dunn, do you remember this? Like this, I'm going to call you out right now on this if you remember this. I was like, we're going to role play right now. Dunn, you ready for this? Do you remember that day?
I don't.
No, dang, he doesn't remember.
Don't do it.
And I was like, Dunn, you ready for this call? Like, you ready for, and me calling him out, because now I know this now, coming full circle, knowing his personality, he fucking bombed on that call. Like, bombed. You just said the wrong things. You were like thinking in your head of what I was saying. You weren't you weren't actively listening. You were just like moving through the process of what you knew from the stuff that you watched. It wasn't like, and this is one of the problems with people that get into this space is like, I did this a lot too. I would ask Dunn a question. Like if Dunn was a relocation specialist right now, I'd be like, hey Dunn, it's great to talk to you. I'm so glad you and I connected. I have a property in this market and I really want to get it booked and I really want to help people out. Can you tell me if you guys are actually doing travel nurses in this space? And then Dunn's going to start talking. In my thought processes already is like, what's the next question I'm going to ask Dunn, and actually not listen to him as a relocation specialist. That's exactly what Dunn did. And that's what 99% of people do, unless you have like a super solid sales background. You could active listen, which I think is we could talk about that another day. But like a lot of the times the people that you talk to will actually give you little clues of what they're actually needing or what they're missing. And Dunn was like skipping all that and just going directly to like the next question that he already knew he was going to ask. Yeah. It was on a pre-put template.
Yeah, it was almost like I wanted to just like get over it already. Like just say it all. All right, I did it with no purpose.
Exactly. But then I called you and I was like, hey, this is good. And then I did the but. Like, this is good, but. And then after that but, you were like this. I'm going to do everything. I know I did this wrong. I need to spend the time and energy to do this. I need to get it together. Following week, went back to Dunn again, said, hey man, we're going to do this role play. We're going to run through this. I can't believe you don't remember this stuff. It's kind of annoying to me right now. You don't remember it. It was a big thing for me. 100% opposite of the original first call. He probably went back and watched the freaking videos that we had. And he started talking about everything that we talked about in the videos. Like, here's what you do. Here's how you operate. Here's how you ask questions. Here's how you're actively listening. 100%. And that's where Dunn, I think, has his magic, is that he has the ability to like self-correct and really start to figure out, what did I do wrong? What was the part that was missing? And this goes back to the thing that I talked about at the beginning of this episode, is that a lot of us, including myself, including Dunn, are so negative on ourselves that negative loop is very difficult to pop out of sometimes. And in fact, I've been trying to really actively be nicer to myself. When I hear Dunn or Dylan or people on my team be negative to themselves, I always try to correct them, because if there's anybody that's going to talk positively about yourself, it should be you. About you. You know what I mean? Like, we talk to other people way better than we talk to ourselves. And that's a big problem at the end of the day. But to go back to what I was saying earlier, like, you were able to self-correct in literally 7 days with just that entire thing. But that's just your personality. You even talked about it earlier with, you getting out on the on the field floor and just working before everybody else, eating lunch in 5 minutes and getting to work, and everybody thought you're crazy. That's your personality. That's how you are. But to go back into this now, so 6 months in, you get a couple properties, you go to the summit. Talk to us about that, because technically this story is about the summit, but it's also about your growth and what that year is going. That's where I want to go right now. All right, let me break this down real quick, and then I'm gonna let you talk about this. No, you know what? I'm gonna talk about underestimating what a day and a year and a month could be like do for somebody. But I want you to talk about this first, and then I'll get into that.
Yeah, for sure. So the summit was coming up. My wife couldn't come last minute, with the kids and all that. She was supposed to be with me. And this was my first time being in a big event like this. Like, it was massive. And I had imposter syndrome. I had, I was shy, not shy, but like, I've never been in the environment, right? So almost to the point that I didn't want to go. It was almost like that because I was by myself, right? I haven't met anyone in real life, no one in the community. It was all, we're all coaching through Zoom. And I'm about, I forgot, maybe 7-8 months into the program in real estate. And, but anyways, I pushed myself, just went, forced myself to go into the circles of the big dogs. So you saw like the bigger pockets dudes, they were there. And I was just the flower on the wall, right? And then there was this one pivotal moment that really shifted me. And I always tip my hat, tons of respect and love for Lenny the boss. Anyway, so it was a bunch of big dogs. Ruben Kanya was there too. And I think Rich Sommers was there. And they were just talking, right? And then I didn't think they were going to pass the mic to me, like ask me questions. And they said, what about you, man? Where are you from? Like, what do you have? What do you invest in? How many doors do you have? The typical questions. And I was like, and my tone, I said, I only have 2 doors. Like, when my shoulders drop, I only have 2 doors. And then that's when Lenny's never met me, okay? Lenny grabbed me to the side, put his hand on my shoulder respectfully, and he said, hey, brother, when you say you only have 2 doors, you need to change that. You need to say you have 2 doors as if you just said you have 100 doors. You need to be proud of the work that you've put in, right? And that alone right there shifted my mind. The way I spoke about myself, it kind of ties in with when you're saying be kind to yourself or trying to be nicer to ourselves. And yeah, you're right, dude. Like, I could be really rough, towards myself, and it's, my
As most
upbringing.
high achievers are, bro. That's supernatural. It's super normal. Actually, it's not natural. We're just trained to be that it's natural, and it could be like a bunch of other stuff, but it's not natural to do that.
Yeah, it's not natural. If you could master it and understand the power in it without letting it take over you where you're going to crash and burn, it's an extremely useful tool. That's another conversation. Anyway, so that shifted my mind right there.
Bro, let's stay on that, because I think that so many people that may be in this space that have like a type A personality have that. And at the end of the day, I used to think about it as being a very negative thing. Because what I'm trying to say is that the people that are super overly driven have the idea that something's not enough. Like, they're not enough. What they're putting into work is not enough. And we tend to lose ourselves along the way. And we can do like crazy, like have these accolades that are awesome that everybody else would be like, dude, that's freaking amazing. But to the person, the individual is doing it, they might not think they've made it. They might not think that they've put enough into it. I feel like that all the time. Like, I don't think I've done enough. In fact, we just talked about this earlier where it's like, I like watching TV. Like, I love watching Netflix. How many entrepreneurs that you talk to who are like, I don't watch TV. I don't do any of that. It's like wasting my time. Like, dude, my favorite thing is like cinema and watching stuff. And I had to learn to like be okay with that, because if I would watch TV, I would shame myself the entire time for doing that. That's my hour at night before I go to bed, to get myself out of my mind, because I'm so in my mind of building and doing and creating and making and helping. And it's like, that's a problem when that's like your entire world. And that's where this loop of this comes in, where it's like, these entrepreneurs, these people that are highly driven have that, and that is powerful to have. But there's also a time where you got to like take a step back. Am I being present enough? Am I being what I need to do? So what I'm saying right now is that everybody out there that has this same drive, good fucking for you, because not everybody has that. You've already won that damn drive lottery, because not a lot of people have a drive. But now being able to harness it and use it in a way that can be useful for yourself, for other people, that's a totally different thing. I'm such a big person of therapy and self-development, where you start to go down those things and you get to recognize and be aware of those things that are happening, and start to give yourself space and time to be able to like absorb what is actually happening. So Dunn, I don't want you to think about this as being like a negative, and I think you are. I did for a long time too, but I think it's actually a really positive and powerful place to be, especially when you're self-aware enough to freaking know that it's happening.
That's the key right there. The self-awareness. Um, that the whole Netflix thing, the no watching TV, I amplified that. When I heard that, and I've heard that before, during my construction career, right? And I amplified that. I said, okay, these are what the greats are doing. This is what, Kobe Bryant's
5
doing.
a.m.
This is,
club.
yeah, the
Yeah.
5 a.m. club. I'm going to follow their structure. You know what I mean? Exactly. And all that it's good to get the jump start, right? But in my opinion, it's not sustainable in your lifestyle, right? And the reason why it's good in the jump start, because we need to launch out of our old self, like quick, because if not, it's a fine line back to complacency. So I understand the part of shutting out Netflix for the first year. That's exactly what I did during, when I was after my surgery, right? I remember when I had knee surgery, and it was probably like 2 days in, I'm at home laying down, I'm reading my books, right? Watching YouTube, all that stuff, studying for a real estate and investing. And I'd grab my phone and I'll scroll. And I remember I used to just hate on people. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't deserve that. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And not even realizing it until like one day I caught myself and I said, what am I doing? Like, seriously, what am I doing? I like 30, when you doom scroll, 30 minutes has passed by of me just being bitter or not even learning anything. So then and there, I told myself, I'm shutting off social media for 1 year. And I did. So I could just focus on these books, focus on action taking. And that's what I mean. In the beginning, it's fine. But changing like going pure Goggins mode, that's not for everyone. That's just my opinion. There's some folks who can be Goggins and it's in them, but some people, they think that's a sustainable thing, especially if you have kids, you got a wife. It's a whole different dynamic that too
Yeah.
many people don't talk about. Alex Hormozy, love the guy. He's great. He knows his stuff. I've learned a lot from him. However, I don't copy exactly everything that he says because he doesn't have kids, right? So the way he does things is not always going to be aligned to my goals, my wants, my needs. Um, anyway, so going back, Lenny, big kudos to him, and I always show him respect because he helped, that new paradigm for me, right, to look through different lenses. And then, the summit event kicked off, and there's this one dude, Aaron West. He was on stage, and he just lifted the entire room up. The whole room was like floating. He had such a
Yeah, he's good.
powerful topic, his keynote session. And one of the main things that he said was he becomes complacent. He makes a lot of, income. He has businesses and he gets complacent. And so what he does in order for him to have that fire, the hustle mode, the running mode, attack mode, he thinks to himself, like, how can I have my back against the wall? Because when he had his back against the wall during the times when he had nothing, that's when he performed the best, right? He had to deliver. He had to bring food to the table. That resonated very well with me. And I was still coming off of that, my back against the wall. Yes, I had 2 properties. My wife started to believe me. I was starting to learn the systems. I still haven't made the promise to her, get her a house in 2 years. I took that with me. And when Aaron was speaking, I said, you know what? Like, this guy's so inspiring. That's another paradigm shift for me, right? I gained another view on things that would elevate my journey. And I remember sitting in the crowd, goosebumps and everything. I was like, dude, I'm going to be up there one day. I said, I'm going to be up there one day and I'm going to do the same feeling that I'm getting like right now, the goosebumps. And I'm going to do the same thing for someone to believe in themselves, resonate with the story, give them the action plan, the guide, because I needed it. I needed a Lenny. I needed an Aaron. I needed a Jesse. I needed a community, right? And that's the whole reason why I'm here. So I can't say this was 100% me. The only me part was the action taking, but I had guides, right? I had mentors.
Dunn, I think this right here goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Dunn was in a room that he's never been in before in his life, an event. And for those of you that have been to events or small summits, like they're intimidating. You get in these rooms, everybody's talking about how many freaking doors they got. how their freaking schlong swings to one side and how somebody's smaller than the other one. Like everybody's always talking about all this stuff, dude. And you're just like, all right, bro, you're rocking around swinging with the 1,000 doors. All right, we get it, bro. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's intimidating in this way, especially if you're new coming into a space. But I feel like the summit that we have is, yeah, I mean, there's people that are going to do that. But what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say is swinging them. I'm just joking. What I'm trying to say is that most people underestimate what they could do in a day. Most people underestimate what they could do in a year. And most people underestimate what they could do in a month. Now you stack that up consistently over 1 year, dude, you can do a whole lot of fucking shit if you put your mind to it and you start to actually do things. So Dunn had this vision, and I'm such a big believer in like Kobe Bryant had this, some MLB players have this, where they'll actually sit there before they bat. They'll go do these things. They'll actually envision being in the playoffs. They'll envision getting up to bat, hitting a home run to right field, or hitting a fly, a bloop to left, and like they'll actually visualize that.
Like where the ball is even going.
Yeah, and they'll visualize it like this, bro. Like, listen to this for a second. They will visualize it in a way that they'll go up, and I actually heard Ed Milet say this, and it made me like, holy crap. He was talking to a professional athlete who he coaches, and he was talking exactly about this, and he was like, this is what we did. And he was talking about, you're going up to bat right now. Where are you at? And he's like, I'm sitting behind home plate. And he's like, no, where are you at? And what he was actually trying to say, did you hear this episode?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Where he actually talked about like, where in the field are you actually watching yourself at? Like, put yourself in that spot. Are you behind second base? Are you in the outfield and right field? Are you in left field in the bleacher seats? Are you behind the pitcher? Are you like the umpire? And like visualize yourself actually in that position and start to like think about these things that can happen. And that's exactly what Dunn started to do. And I think that, you know, I've always been a person, and I didn't know this purposefully. I didn't know this, like this even existed back then, but I've always been a guy that saw something and like I would visualize myself doing it. I've always told my kids to do the same thing. And then I had Ed Milet, who's like, you know, a world-renowned, you know, coach, business coach, athlete coach, athletic coach, like super fucking intense with people. That Dunn actually told me about this, that behind the scenes, he's very intense, which I could see why former athletes have that intensity and that drive. It's just part of how they actually learn, how they operate. That's just part of being in any type of sports, right? You just have that drive. And just that level of vision and that level of clarity is so powerful to envision yourself. And going back to what I talked about earlier, God, the universe, whatever it is that you decide that you believe in, will start to align itself when you start to put yourself in a position that will allow you to do the things that you want to do. Reticular activating system. We see that all the time. You guys have heard about that. You've heard about that, Dunn, where it's like, yep. I've talked about this in my class with my students all the time. It's like, Dunn might want to buy he might be an Elon Musk fan. He wants to go buy a Tesla, a white one, maybe a Model S. And the next thing you know, Dunn is seeing a Model S like literally freaking everywhere, because our brains, that RAS system, starts to find those everywhere. So you might literally be like, dude, I want to buy this car. Now I see it everywhere, because you're actually actively looking for it. And I feel like that same concept goes for what you want to do, especially when you start to when you have a vision of what it actually is. And this is where the vision boards and all that other shit comes in. You start to actually think about those things in that way. And guess what you're going to start seeing? A path. You're going to be in a dimly lit road that all of a sudden has light. You're going to be walking through the darkness with the flashlight. And guess what? Now you're going to have the ability to see where you're actually going in the direction you want to go. It might not be way far ahead of you, but now you're like barely getting a glimpse in this cave of like, cool, I need to probably be turning right up here. There's not a bear. I'm going to go that way. And you start to actually see these positions of where you need to go. And maybe some cave guy pops out of freaking the cave. He's like, Dunn, what's up, bro? I'm a caveman. I've been here for 100 years. You're going in the right direction. And that's what Aaron West was. That's what Lenny was. That's what I was. And you start to get these little visions. And I'm getting excited about this because like you start to see these things align. Before you know it, you're at that pot of gold at the very end of it, exactly where you thought you were going to be, but you had to see it first. And then you need to be around the right people. Then you needed to believe. Then you need to have validity. And then you're just like, damn, this is actually real. And I think that's what's so powerful. So Dunn, talk about that year. You just talked about it now. Or if there's anything else you want to piggyback off of what I was just saying.
No, dude, that's real. Like, and you got to visualize it. You got to smell it. You got to picture yourself there already. Like it already happened. And if you were to tell me this, dude, freaking 5 years ago, I'd be like, shut that off. Like, what is this hoopla fluff stuff? Yeah. Guys, I am telling you, like, it works. It really does, right? It starts with the visualization, and then it starts with the words, and it starts with the action. It starts with your surrounding. So Surround yourself with the right folks, like how I did, because that's how it worked. If I didn't do any of those little steps, right, I guarantee you I wouldn't be where I'm at today, because each interaction that I had, each question that I had, gave me that boost that I needed. Right. So, ending the summit with Aaron West, and you said something when you closed out the summit that year. He said, all right, everyone's pumped up, everyone's electrified, like, we're all motivated, but this is also the same time where most people, after the summit, it just all goes away. You said not exactly in those words, but you said something like, what are you going to do with this motivation once you get out of here? Right. And then so with all of that whole, big pot of just guidance, I didn't wait. Right. I started taking action. So continued the program, still looking for homes, thinking like, what am I going to do next? What's the next deal? And I knew that I wanted to be on stage. I knew I wanted to speak to people and give them that same empowering feeling. I just didn't know how. And then, we were talking one day, and then I brought up an idea to you. You actually asked me like, hey man, how are you? Like, are you really good with, analysis, running numbers? We were talking. I said, yeah, I help folks in the community all the time. And that's when, fast forward, the opportunity came in. Jesse asked if I wanted to be a coach. Right. And Jesse freaking Vasquez asking me to be a coach. Like, I used to watch this dude on YouTube, like look up like, wow, these guys are the goats, right? And now this guy's asking me. Not once I ever thought I was going to be a coach, right? And then a year after that, a couple months after coaching, you said, hey man, do you want to speak on stage? And I was like, what is going on? Like, am I going to, like, I don't even know what to say. And, by this time you started to know me a little more and know about my story, and said that, people needed to hear my story. And, my past, I was very shameful about my past. And I think it took a couple months to even get on like a first podcast with you, because I was just hiding. I was running away from myself, from my past. But I'm glad that you put me in positions where I felt uncomfortable, but I needed it. Because through that podcast, I can't tell you how many folks has reached out to me and was just grateful that I shared my story, because it was relatable, right? So from there, I saw the power in my story and my journey, and that there was nothing to be shameful about. And since, we're bringing up Ed Milet, and he's a big dog. Like, if you guys haven't heard of Ed Milet, come on, search him up. He's a big dog. He said, you're the most qualified person to help the person that you used to be. Like, when he said that, I was like, that's exactly right. Right. Jesse used to be like me, or I used to do the same things as Jesse. So when Jesse spoke, I resonated with him. Right.
When you say that, you mean like being a dumbass when we were kids.
Yeah. Right. Knuckleheads. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I really believe that. And that just started to snowball from there. Spoke on stage the first year, shared my story, the other part of my origin story. And, I'm proud. I am proud to say that, it helped people to take action. That was really my purpose. I remember saying something on stage like, it's not about MTR, it's not about STR, it's about yourself. Believe in yourself, take action towards something. And
but Dunn, how do people start to believe in themselves though? That's the age-old question. What does it take for somebody to believe in themselves?
You have to surround yourself around people who's done it already. There's this saying, if you want to get to the top, ask the people that's walking back down. So that's very important. That's very important. Surround yourself with people that's ahead of you, that's failed. So you don't have to fail, right? How many times you've told me like, hey bro, watch out, like this is going to happen. And there's times where I'm still hard-headed. I'm like, nah, it's not going to happen. And what happens? I lose a tooth, something happens, right? But that's me. That's a me thing. I'm hard-headed. But yeah, surrounding yourself with people, that's what accelerated my journey, really.
Yeah, and it's such a cliche thing to say, dude. Like, it's like, people that are out there listening to this right now, they're just like, dude, another guy, another guru saying, get around the right people. Another guy saying, you guys, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, freaking Matthew McConaughey. All right. He says the exact same, like everybody that's been there, that's done that, does the exact same thing in their own unique way. They're saying literally the same freaking thing. Like, everybody is like, I'm serious. Go listen to Tony Robbins. Just give yourself an hour of Tony Robbins. Go listen to Pace Morby afterwards. Go listen to freaking Matthew McConaughey afterwards.
Yeah.
Go listen to freaking go listen to Ryan Holiday, who talks about stoicism. And guess what? All that stuff, it goes back to the exact same principles that have dated back to the freaking beginning of time.
Yeah.
And there's just certain things that you do. Just like when we were at tribes, we have to learn from people. We don't just all of a sudden become the person that you want to be. You have to learn. You got to shadow. You got to understand. And I think that's a powerful place to be in, man. And again, I don't think learning is a hard thing to do, but what is hard is getting out of the old mindset that you were in. Dunn talked about this earlier. I looked at these people that are doing this, and I'm in this super negative pattern of like, they got this and I don't. That's a negative pattern. You're stuck in it. I was in that for a long time. Another pattern. They have something that I don't. Victimhood, period. Another thing. They came from good parents. They had this, they had that, they had this, they had a good upbringing. Join the club. Most people didn't have that. So again, going back to victimhood. And yes, there's people that had some really fucked up childhoods. Trust me, I know this. But at a certain time, you have to start to pull yourself away from that. And who are you actually serving at the end of the day? Are you serving and living back in those days? Or are you living in the time of like, I'm going to continue to build and I need to put myself in a position where, again, therapy and all those things are going to help you. But again, the most difficult thing that I think there is out there for anybody coming in to any new space is getting rid of any negative beliefs that are associated with what you have been taught as a kid and what you're indoctrinated to know, and who the people are around you that are telling you these things. If you got family that says, that's a dumb idea, guess what you're going to start thinking? Frick, maybe this is a dumb idea. If you got friends that are like, dude, you're not going to be able to get real estate. That's like for rich white people. Guess what? I'm a brown dude. I'm not rich. I didn't grow up rich, and I didn't graduate high school, and I got a property. I had to sell a bunch of stuff to get it, but I did. So like you can do all these things. But again, I had these limiting beliefs just the same way that Dunn talked about this earlier, that everybody like, you have to get out of those patterns. And the crazy thing about it is when you start to be around people that are doing this and you start to realize like, dude, they don't think like that. They're not having these thoughts. They're not thinking negatively about stuff. And most of the time, I'm going to say most of the time, because they do creep back in. There's times where I look at somebody like, man, why are they doing this that I don't? And I got to catch myself. I am a person. I'm a regular human, just like you guys. You will get stuck in those patterns, which is why I listen to podcasts still. It's the same stuff that I've been hearing for the last 10, 12 years when I got into personal development. But I need to be reminded of these things often. And I think this is why being on podcasts like this, talking about Dunn's stories, talking about other people's stories, you need to be reminded of what you're capable of, how you can actually start to achieve it, what you've actually been able to put into yourself, who's pouring into your own cup, because it's got to be you. No, it can't be anybody else. And if you do get that extra support, somebody that taps you on the back, your shoulder, your wife, your mom, you're so damn lucky, because not everybody has that. And it's a powerful place to be in, and use that to your advantage as much as you can, because to be out here in this space, building something on your own, it is tiresome, it is lonely, and you sure damn well sometimes need support from somebody somewhere. And that's where Dunn got this from people at a freaking conference that he had no damn clue of who they even were.
Yep, that's real, man. It's I hate to say, but it's that simple. You know, it's not easy. There's a lot of, things you have to do within self. You got to master yourself first before you master any strategy. And the fastest way to master yourself, just like Jesse said it, is to surround yourself with people who's done it. It just makes a journey a whole lot easier.
And you can have Dunn's into Andy Frisella, into Ed Milet, into freaking David Goggins. Like, you guys, we don't have to have these people in our backyards. You could be anywhere in the world and have a mentor that you listen to on like, dude, that's the time we live in right now. We live in a time that I can literally listen to Ed Milet every single day and listen to what he's talking about, listen how he's operating, the things that he's doing, the people he's coaching. Those are my mentors. The same way that Aaron West was to you on stage. You got that bug that was like, dude, I want to do that. I want to get on stage. I want to talk to that person that I once was. And that's what's cool, man. Like we get to live in a time where we can get those people around you. So if you're one of those people, it's like, I don't get to get around these people. I don't get to travel very often. I don't go to real estate events. You're listening to this podcast right now. You can listen to other people's things. You can have mentors and people that are not in your contacts phone list, but they're in your repertoire of who you're actually absorbing and what you're doing, because garbage in, garbage out. That is the reality of what you're spending your days watching people cry in their cars on TikTok. Guess what you're going to be doing? Crying in your car, probably on TikTok at a certain point. So you got to be super thoughtful on what you're actually putting into your mind. Because again, input output, it's monkey see, monkey do. That's exactly what we're, the types of, that's our brains. It's literally how it is. So get the good stuff in your mind, get the good stuff that comes in. It's so powerful and it's so important to make sure you're doing that and surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. Dunn just talked about it right now. Dunn, what else would you say to newbies right now? I know this has been a very, very much a mindset conversation, not really a real estate specific call, but I think this is what's most important when people get into anything that they're building into. Like it's the mind is the most important piece of the puzzle, which is why it's talked about so often. And it's also one of the hardest things to start to control. And you can't always control it because that's what meditation is, right? You got thoughts that come in and then they leave. And that's hard to do. How many of you guys sat with yourself for 5 minutes without thoughts? That's hard. But again, I think it's very powerful to be around the right people, do the right things around the right people, encourage each other, continue to build forward. And I'm talking a damn awful lot. This is supposed to be my interview with you, Dunn. I'm sitting here talking.
No, you're good, dude. This is real. Like, this is important. People need to hear this. I feel like it's not talked about too much in the real estate side, just a little bit. But it is a vehicle you need to be successful, not just in real estate, but in all parts of life. To answer your question, what's the, what do I want the viewers to leave with for today? It's the same thing I tell folks in our community is to structure yourself, structure your wins over the hard work mentality. What I mean by that is, I was raised a hard worker. You're raised a hard worker, work hard. But that only lasts for so long, right? The work hard is your rocket ship, but then you need to start structuring those wins. How are you going to win? Right? You just got to start casting it, visualizing it, start strategically planning for it. And that part is hard when we don't know, but it ties back into what I'm saying. Be around folks that's 2 steps, 3 steps, 10 steps ahead of you. And that's where you can start structuring your wins, because the hustle part, although you're always going to hold on to that, but it's not scalable, right? We need to rinse and repeat the game plan. So we got to create a playbook, a strategy that makes sense for yourself that you can use. Another thing would be is to not compare yourself to others. What's that saying? Comparison is a thief of joy, yeah. Right? Don't compare yourself to others. If you know your why, if you know your goals, you know what you want to provide for yourself, for your family, that's it right there. Just because, if someone were to come up to me and say, one person wants a Lamborghini, let's just say, right? And the other person just wants a humble 3-bedroom house, right? One goal is not better than the other. The way I would judge the goal is who has more structure, who has more clarity in the direction where they're going, right? And if you have more clarity, then I love that freaking goal. What I mean by that is, I remember when I first started, I felt like I had to say what everyone else was saying, right? And making me more lost. I was lost. Like, I was starting to get lost, like not going in the direction that was me. But yeah, don't compare yourself to others. This is your journey. This is your story, and just one step forward. And as always, relationships. That's the thing that'll carry you the furthest in life, in business and in life.
Yeah. And, just to go back on, like, if anybody's out there is in a program right now, what I mean by program, in somebody's community where you're working with a mentor, Dunn, what did you do to stand out in the mentorship? Like, how did I get to see you? Do you know what you did? Do you know what you were doing? Do you know what you were? Can you explain that to everybody? And maybe like 3 steps that people could, because this is a powerful part right here. Talk about that for a minute.
So when I joined the community, it was new, right? I think it was a couple months in or something, and it was still new. So there was still areas that need improvement, right? And then so I would message Jesse, not to tell him like, hey, you're doing this wrong, but I would collaborate with him like, hey, I thought I tried doing this to help this mentee and it really helped them. And Jesse actually listened to me like he was receptive to what I was saying. And then so continuously trying to find ways how to add value to others. right? Not to correct them because you're a know-it-all, but genuinely wanting to improve things around you. I think that's one of the reasons why you stood out and saw me, but also helping out the community members. I mean, we all help each other out, whether it's deal analysis, passing leads. So I did that a lot with a lot of the newbies who felt stuck. So I'd spend time with them and practicing running numbers with them. And the beauty in all of that, I did not know this was before I was a coach, was I was gearing up to become a coach. And I didn't even know that.
You knew who did know that?
Yeah, spending time.
You knew who did know that?
You did.
Yes. I knew that from the very get-go, bro.
Goosebumps, Matthew McConaughey. Guys, I always call this guy Matthew McConaughey when he hits the real deep stuff, man.
Do you know why I saw that in you?
Go for it, man.
I saw that in you because you talked about this. You didn't even know we were going to be talking about these things, and it's coming to you right now. The person you are shows up for yourself. You're going to try to learn knowledge. You're going to try to pick new information up. The guys that you probably worked with laughed at you because you ate lunch in 2 minutes and went and did shit that you didn't necessarily have to do, but you're trying to level up. And that's because you have that drive that's built into you. You're that personality. And a lot of people don't have that personality. And you can learn a lot by being around people like that. I tell my kids this all the time. And I actually just recently heard Cody Sanchez say something very similar to this, where she talked about, like, if you just show up like 5 minutes or 10 minutes earlier in your W-2 job and you stay 10 minutes later, the bosses that you work for are going to notice that. Like, I'm telling you guys right now, if you guys are in a W-2 job and you literally just get in 15 minutes early and you stay 15 minutes later, because 99.9% of people are going to go in, they're going to do bare minimum, they're going to stay in the back, they're going to try to blend in like a wallflower, and they're going to bounce out when they need to bounce out. That's how employees typically work. But if you showed up 15 minutes early, you put energy into what you're doing, you stay 15 minutes later, that's 30 minutes a day, right? That's at 2.5 hours a week or whatever that is. I'm not good at math. I didn't graduate high school. Leave me alone. But what I'm trying to say is, like, dude, that's what it takes. And like, if you really want to stand out in a community, if you really want to stand out in your job, like, that's what you got to be able to do. Some people have that burned into them naturally. Other people don't. I can tell you now that I tell my daughter this all the time. Show up early, like show up, stay a little bit later. You're going to get noticed because nobody's doing that right now. And I think it's a powerful position to be in. I saw that in you, Dunn. I saw that very early on in you. I saw the ability of you being able to grow. I saw the ability of you having hardship. I saw in your eyes, because people with our eyes know what guilt feels like. I think people that have our eyes know what shame feels like. And I know that people that have our eyes have been through difficult things and have been able to overcome them. I can see that in somebody's eyes when I talk to them. And I saw that in yours. And I'm sitting here talking to you today with great amount of respect and a great amount of acknowledgement for you, because I've been able to watch what you've been able to do over the years, and you haven't been doing it for yourself. Your why is your family, and I know that, and you know that, and my mom knows that, and that's why you're here with me today, dude.
Dang, man.
That's it.
That's real, dude.
Yeah. So
thanks, man. That was real, man. Yeah, man. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I've never been in this position before. Like, I feel weird. Blessed. I feel good. This is new to me, and I'm just grateful that I have this platform that I could do this, where I can help people. That's another thing. I think I want to end with this is, I started real estate because I had to provide for my family. My wife had to work 2 jobs, and I feel like I failed my whole family, and I just needed to bring a check. That's really why I got started. And not knowing each action step that I took, small action steps, guys. I didn't make massive quantum leaps. No, just one at a time, led me to where I am today, where I'm proud to say that, I've helped tons of people in the community. And now I'm in the, heavy on the insurance side, the insurance claim side, where I'm helping displaced families. And I'd never in a million years think I'd be able to do that for people, to help them in their worst time, to help new investors figure it out, right? And believe in themselves. I just needed a check when I got injured, right? But the main thing is action taking and surround yourself with the right people, and a lot can change. A lot can change. I have purpose now. Now it's not just a check. Now it's like I have a bigger why, bigger than me. It's for others, to serve others.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you on that. I think this story, it goes back to being around the right types of people, putting energy into things that you believe, finding your why, and being able to continue to push forward when things are hard. I think a lot of us get stuck in our mind. We're stuck in a position of where we're at with our job. We don't ever feel like we're able to do enough. But then something happens to us and for us, like a knee injury, and making a hard decision between, do I take this job that I've always wanted to have, like my dream job, won the freaking electrical lottery, or do I support my family and do I do these things? And a lot of us are going to be faced with these very difficult moments in our lives where you're confronted. You have this one beautiful thing on one side and the other thing that's equally as beautiful, and you have to weigh between those two things. And it's a tough position to be in, but I've always been somebody to say that adversary, hardships, those negative life situations are actually being done for us and how we adapt to them. And those are actually what bring clarity to a lot of us in a lot of ways. That they're very difficult at the moment, but in hindsight, looking at it later, you do see that there's a silver lining to those situations and those things. And for me, I think that's an empowering place to be in. And whenever I go through any type of hardship, and Dunn, maybe you do this too, I try to find the reason behind like why this is actually happening right now. I think it's important to think like that. Maybe that's just me having a whimsical mind to some degree, but I do think it's powerful. In fact, this is not even going to be a midterm Monday call. I think this is like so good that it needs to be a YouTube video on YouTube and on the podcast. So yeah, I hope you guys were able to get some knowledge from Dunn. Dunn, where can folks go find you if they want to learn more about you, if they want to connect with you, if they want to resonate with you, if you guys resonate with Dunn at all? Go follow him on the gram. Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, I'm getting better with my social. Right now, you could find me on Dunn Della Dolo on Instagram. DUNNDELADOLO. Message me and I got you.
I love to end these calls with something lighthearted. So I'm going to think about some funny things to ask you, and we're going to just do rapid fire here. You with me on this, dude?
Let's go.
All right, cool. Would you rather host a travel nurse with 12 cats or a construction worker who only showers on Tuesdays?
Construction worker, because that's my wheelhouse.
Okay. If your guest clogs the toilet, are you charging them extra or just emotionally?
I'm not charging them extra at all, no.
Okay.
These questions, bro.
Do you think rental arbitrage is just a fancy term for legally borrowing somebody else's house?
Yes.
All right, cool. Last one. Do you have you ever had a booking request and immediately wished the internet didn't exist?
Yes, recently. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Well, there it is, folks. Dunn renting to a construction worker who only showers on Tuesdays instead of a nurse that has 12 cats. So you've heard it all, folks. Dunn, dude, this has been amazing, man. I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm telling you, being in the right rooms can change your life if you deem that to be. So Dunn, appreciate you, bro. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe, everybody. See you there.
Hey.
Thank you for listening to the JV podcast. I'm Jesse Vasquez, your host. I appreciate you for listening. And if you could do me a huge solid, go like and subscribe to this. This helps us tremendously. And as always, thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of your day.